Okay, we're here with Tina and Keith. Paul, first of all, tell us your backstory. How did you end up in Ecuador, and what did you do before that?
Well, we were on vacation in Guatemala. We went there. We didn't know what we were going to do. We were so busy with both of our careers that we were literally sitting in the condo, looking on the internet, trying to figure out how we're going to plan our day. And up came this article about Guatemala being one of the 10 best places in the world to retire. It was number 10. And we were like, well, what's 1 through 9? And what's this retiring in other countries? So then, talk about that.
Yeah, so we were visiting Antigua, Guatemala, and we just happened to run into some expats, and they were telling us their story, and I'm thinking, expats, very interesting. I never thought about living overseas. And they told me how much it cost, and it was amazing at how much cheaper it was than living in the United States.
So we thought, maybe we could do this. So we started doing some research. We kind of made a checklist. What would we want in a country that we were going to live in? It would need to be a walkable city. It would need to have enough people.
Yeah, we didn't want to be bored. It needed to be a good size. It had to have temperate weather.
We were living in California, and we had lived in Florida. We didn't want to live someplace too humid again.
We also, we liked the Latino countries, so we wanted it to be somewhere in Central or South America.
We spoke a little Spanish, so that helped. So Keith went back, we did all this, and we kind of came down to Ecuador as being the place that we thought we want to live. So about 3 weeks later, we hopped on a plane again, and we took a 12-day trip to Cuenca, Ecuador, and we fell in love.
Yeah, it met everything that we read about. It was perfect. And we were 54 years old at that time. And I think it was, 6 months later? Mm-hmm. Actually, as soon as we got back, I put in my notice at work. And 6 months later, we retired early, and we moved to Cuenca.
Now, I was a traditional naturopathic doctor. I had a practice in the Pasadena area. And Keith?
Yeah, I was the Chief Technology Officer for the University of Southern California. Both very stressful jobs, so retiring early is something we just really wanted to do. And really, given the lower cost of living, that really allowed us to retire early and maintain the same
lifestyle we
wanted. We like to travel, and I don't think we could have really done this in California.
No, I don't think so either.
Okay, great. So on that note, did you buy something when you got there, or did you rent? How did that work out for what you decided to do about housing?
Yeah, before we actually moved there, in between, we took a second trip back to Cuenca, and we actually found a place to live. So we rented an apartment. It was a brand new building. It wasn't even finished yet when we were there in November, but we just liked the layout. It was about a 10-minute walk to the downtown city, which was really something we wanted, because we didn't want to own a car. We wanted to be able to walk everywhere. So we leased it, and the guy was nice enough to let us start it in January.
Yeah, we shipped a container, so we sold and got rid of most of our things, but I couldn't part with, we have 2 kids, we have photo albums, and we traveled a lot, so there were things that we just couldn't part with. So we did ship a container to Ecuador, but we do not own any property in the United States anymore. So yes. Home is Cuenca now.
It was really nice though, because by the time we got to Ecuador, we did everything ahead of time. We applied for our residency visa ahead of time, so when we got there, as soon as we got stamped, we were officially residents of Ecuador. We were probably there only 5 days, and our container arrived. Most people live there months without their container. But we had, we're very anal, and everything was planned really well, and it worked just perfect.
So that leads to, when you're talking about cost of living, what were you spending in California compared to what you're spending in Ecuador? And how much is your apartment, and how much would that apartment cost where you were in California?
So we pay, including condo fee, we pay $785 a month in rent now. At the end of California, we were leasing a 1,300 square foot home just outside of Pasadena, and we paid $3,600 a month for rent. So that gives you an idea of the difference.
1/5 the cost.
Yes, yeah.
Our water in Cuenca, our water bill monthly is like $9. Our electric is $45 a month. I get higher speed internet in Cuenca than I did in California. I get 60 meg fiber optic, and I pay $45 a month for that.
Our cell phone plans are each $24.50, so we pay under $50, and we don't have a landline. We have a voice over IP phone for the United States.
So groceries all in, we're probably paying $2,000 to $2,200 a month in Cuenca. And we live probably a little higher than people do. I mean, we that $750 for an apartment, there's people that pay $350. We pay $750 because we're in a brand new apartment in a very close to downtown location, but you can get away with half on the rent.
Right.
And we also, coming from California, we like wine. So a lot of our budget goes to wine in Ecuador.
Yeah, we'll talk about drawbacks in a sec, but I know that imported alcohol has very high taxes there, yes?
Yes, it
Yes,
does.
it does.
Yes, it does. Which is why our wine bill's so high.
What about the rest of your meal when you go out to eat at a decent restaurant or a very nice restaurant? What's that like?
Yeah.
Well, we just went out for my birthday to the nicest restaurant in town, and I think the most expensive entree was $28. They ranged probably from about $14 to $28.
At that restaurant.
Yes, but this is a 5-star, you know.
Probably the most expensive restaurant in Cuenca.
Definitely.
Typically $6 to $12 for a dinner. Lunch is the big meal in Ecuador. They call them almuerzos, which means lunch in Spanish, but it's also just kind of a generic term to say, you know, lunch.
It's a big meal.
Yeah, and you typically, everybody serves an almuerzo, and you get a fresh juice, you get a soup, you get an entree consisting of a meat, maybe rice, beans, a little bit of salad, and you get a dessert. And on average, you pay $2.50 for that.
They can go up to $5
And
if you're
we-
getting a really fancy almuerzo, so it's going to be $5.
And my son got one while he was visiting for $1.25.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that you like best about living there from just a quality of life point of view, and what are some things that everybody complains about who lives there, expats?
Yeah. Well, see, first thing is it's a slower pace, right? Unlike, you know, say California, but really anywhere in the United States, pace there is slower, and you have to get used to, you know, waiting for things. Things don't come quick, but it didn't take us long to just be able to, you know, to get used to that pace, and you know, and I still get up really early like I did when I was working, but now instead of, you know, having a coffee really quick and rushing out, now I can just take my time, have a coffee, check my email. It's just a slower pace.
We love the walking. We walk everywhere. If I want to go to the grocery store, it's a mile away. I walk a mile to go to the grocery store, but it's very healthy for me. So, you know, we love the walking. Some of the things we don't like, and anybody who lives in Cuenca will tell you they don't like it, it's the bus fumes. There's buses and the fumes on the buses, but they're working on that. They're trying to get natural gas buses in.
Yeah, and that's only really in the downtown
Yes.
area. You know, there's certain streets that you probably want to avoid because this is the fumes. However, they do have a tranvia, a train that is coming in, and once that gets in, I think by the end of the year, they're going to do away with some of the buses downtown, so that will make it nicer also.
We also have a very extensive social life now. So it's not unusual to go to events 3 times a week and have dinner with friends a couple of days a week or lunch with a couple of friends. So lots to do.
Lots of culture, so there's always art openings, art exhibits, musical events where they have parties, you know, beforehand, and so we meet a lot of new people going to places like that. And we have both American and Ecuadorian friends, so we don't just hang out with the gringos. We get to experience both sides of the country and the culture.
What did you do to get to that point, Spanish-wise, language-wise?
Well, we knew a little bit, but as soon as we got there, we enrolled in Spanish classes, and we went through two courses, and I think when we get back, we're planning on
A private tutor.
a private tutor. We can get a private tutor for $5 to $10 an hour to come in and maybe gear it towards more things that we want to learn. And the thing about Cuenca is there's not a lot of people that speak English there. So just being immersed in it, you know, my wife is the master at having conversations with taxi drivers. And so we learn a lot like that when we have conversations with the locals.
Yes.
And what kind of incentives are in place in Ecuador if you retire there as an expatriate? Are there special discounts on things or anything like that?
Yeah,
There are once you're 65.
Yeah,
we don't qualify.
We don't qualify for anything, but once you're 65, you get like half off on bus fare,
Yes.
which is what? Would be
Well, right now it would be, it's 12 cents to
12
ride the
cents,
bus
right,
if
the
you're
bus.
65 or older.
Yeah.
That bus fare might be going up with the tram via goes in.
You get to
A
go-
free landline phone.
You get to go in front of lines, any line, whether it's a movie theater, a grocery store, a bank, you get to go in the front of the line.
They really have a lot of respect for older people.
Yeah.
25% off all airfare that originates in Ecuador.
Oh, that's true. No,
50%?
50% off.
Yeah.
You can buy a ticket. Any airline that lands in Ecuador has to abide by this, and you work through a travel agent, and you can get airfare for half price if you're 65 and older. The other thing you get is you get back any tax you paid. I think there's right now a 12% VAT. Any tax you pay, if you keep the receipts, you turn those in monthly, they get reimbursed to you.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then what are you doing for healthcare, and what's that like?
So people do different things. There's basically, you can go private health insurance, they have a government health insurance, and then people just kind of go naked, no health insurance. We don't, we're young, we're very healthy, we don't have any health insurance, but it is so cheap there that it's really not a problem to just pay out of pocket. How much is it to go to a doctor?
Doctors can range anywhere from $20 to $45 for a specialist, and that would include any follow-ups that the doctor, after that one visit, if he wants to see you 2 more times, there's not another charge for the doctor visit. And you get your doctor's cell phone number.
Yeah, so having conversations with your doctor via the phone is very normal. We've heard hospital visits, for a week in the hospital, like $1,500. So it's really not that bad. If you want to buy into the government insurance, it's $73 a month. Private insurance, I know people that have it, and it's anywhere from $90 to $120 a month for private insurance.
Anything else people should know, but that are considering moving to Cuenca?
Getting visas, residency visas, is really, really easy. If you have a degree from a accredited university, you can go on a professional visa, and you don't have to put any money down for anything. That's how
You don't have to prove it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So that's how we went in with the professional visa, and otherwise you'd have to prove you have an income of minimum $800 a month, and so if you're on Social Security, that would probably cover you.
That's for one person, it might be 100 or 200 if there's a couple.
Right, and then also you can have an investor visa where you need to just put down $25,000 into a CD, or if you bought a house, that would count too. Now, I'll tell you, even though we did not need to put any money down in a CD, we ended up, both of us, getting a CD there because the interest rate we get in our CD is 10%.
Really? And they
Yeah.
use the US dollar,
And
yes?
they use the
Yes.
US dollar. So basically, every month that interest goes into our bank account, and we just use it to help offset our monthly expenses.
Terrific. So we're talking here in a ballroom at the Travel Bloggers Convention in the USA. So tell us about your blog. What do you write about?
Yeah, so to help us keep busy, and of course, we love to travel. We started a travel blog about a year and a half ago called Retire Early and Travel. So we talk about how, things to help you, what you could do to retire early, choices you can make to help you retire early, and then of course, travel. And we blog about all the places we go to in Ecuador and all over the world. And then we also have a focus right now, since we're living in Cuenca, on living in Cuenca. So on our blog, it talks all about what we went through to get our visas, and from the move of the container coming, and
We encourage people to actually email us through our blog if they're thinking about moving to Cuenca or Ecuador and they need help with anything, we'll be happy to help them.
That's
for
very
free- for
generous
free,
of
We
you.
just love to help people.
That's
Yeah.
very generous of you. Thanks. So retire early and travel. And do you have the same name on social media? Is there any platform people can follow you on?
We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Yes. The only one that's different is Twitter is Retired Travel, and everything else is Retire Early and Travel.
Okay, great. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.